This is WOON, Woonsocket Radio, ON, AM, and FM. This ON, AM, and FM weather forecast is sponsored by Inferno Audio for remote car starters and for copies of your car keys at prices far lower than the dealership. See Keith at Inferno Audio, 160 Clinton Street in Woonsocket. Visit infernoaudio.com. Saturday's weather, mostly cloudy skies, high of 87, a small chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Sunday, mostly cloudy skies, 83, a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Monday, mostly sunny and 89. Tuesday, partly sunny and 79. Wednesday, partly sunny and 74. And on Thursday, partly sunny and high near 74 again.
And currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street, we have 86.4 degrees on this hazy, hot, and humid Saturday morning. And welcome to Kevin's Sports Show. I'm Kevin Callahan, along with my co-host Pat Holland. Pat, welcome to another edition of Kevin's Sports Show here on Saturday morning on 99.5 FM, WoonsocketRadio.com.
Good morning, Kevin.
How's it going? A good week?
Things are great. Busy week, but yeah, things are good.
Awesome. It's we thought it would be a slow week in sports. We talk about the dog days of summer in July and August, but no pun intended. But things are heating up here in not only in Rhode Island but nationally with the Red Sox, the Olympics, everything going on. Been a very busy week going on here.
Yeah. We had the trade deadline. Obviously, people starting to really keep track of what's going on with the Red Sox and a lot of local stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of local things. So let's, right off the bat, first of all, we want to welcome your calls into the studio today. We got open phone lines all show. No guests this week. So your thoughts on any topic, but we'll be entertaining a few as the show goes on at 401-766-1240. 401-766-1240 for your thoughts. But right off the bat, Upper Deck 14, American Legion just captured their third straight Rhode Island American Legion state title with an 11-0 win the other night over South Kingstown, the only team to beat them this year was
right.
South Kingstown. And Charlie Terrara with a walk-off status home run in an 11-0 victory. Andy Ray, 4 for 5, the URI commit for baseball, going 4 for 5. And now, they are off to the Northeast Regionals beginning Wednesday in Manchester, New Hampshire, post 14. Doing the Michael Jordan 3 feet, three on, 1 off, and then 3 on again. Is it?
Yeah, in small world, right? I actually went to high school with Charlie's dad in Boston, so it's funny to see that name, and I'm looking at it going, that looks familiar. Definitely him. Charlie's at Nichols College currently, so good luck to those guys.
Nichols College with a tremendous year this year on the local college baseball scene. Upper Deck comprised of players from Cumberland and Lincoln. And when I was growing up, and in my day, and showing my age, Cumberland and Lincoln were combined back in the day. Then they split into 2 dominating towns, and now you've got Cumberland and Lincoln basically playing out of Chet Nichols Field in Lincoln. Upper Deck is in Cumberland, and you've got a dominant team again with a legit shot of going to the American Legion World Series, I would think.
Yeah, and anything can happen. So, and that's down in North Carolina. So, good luck to those guys as they start Wednesday up in New Hampshire, and we'll keep an eye on it.
We'll keep an eye on that, and should they advance, maybe we'll reach out to Coach Allard to see if we can get him in here, or at least calling in the show. But good luck to Cumberland post 14 out of Upper Deck in Cumberland. Great accomplishment for them. On to the Boston Red Sox. They were very, very active at the trade deadline, and hey, we got a caller right away at 766-1240. Let's see who we have on the line. Hello, who's on the line?
Good morning, Kevin.
Hello, Moose. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Moose.
I'm fine, thank you, and yourself?
Excellent.
Doing very well. Busy week this week, Moose.
Busy week is great. Really not that much. Maybe a couple of
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
went from Tampa Bay, I believe, to he got traded to somebody. Good hitter, 300 hitter.
Yeah, we're gonna look that up for you right now. We got the.
Isaiah Paredes, P-A-R-A-D-E-S, I believe. I believe he stayed in National League, though.
Yeah.
I mean, in the American League, I beg your pardon. But after the Sox, they were in dire need of a left-hander. There was no doubt about that. All their rotation, they were filled with right-handers.
Right.
They didn't have one left-hander except for Criswell, who's up and down.
Right. Yeah. He's a fifth, sixth starter, long reliever.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm not too crazy about Paxton, and for the simple reason of that, look, the Dodgers dumped him. They sent him down to their AAA affiliate, which means, he didn't perform for the Dodgers, or he could be all washed up. Well, he didn't show. So what do the Sox do? They pick up a AAA guy now, and they put him into the starting rotation. And he had a curveball that said, every time he threw it, hit me. You know it? Yeah, lollipops, a lot of lollipops there. I don't think he's the answer, but the Sox are a good hitting team. I'm surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised with what they're doing so far. They're hanging tough.
They're hanging tough, Moose. You got Devers up over 300 now, which I was surprised that he was below. You got Duran hovering around 300. You got Rafaela is up near 260 now and making a legitimate case for Rookie of the Year.
He had like 60 RBIs. That's pretty impressive.
It really is.
Out of the 9-hole.
Exactly.
And playing a decent short and a decent center field, which you don't see a shortstop center fielder come through too often.
Very true. They just inserted this guy Nick Sogard into the lineup last night.
Yeah, up from Worcester, where he was having a good year. 12 home runs and about 270, if I saw that correct.
Why does this name sound familiar to me?
Yeah, it's got that name like there had to be another Sogard in the league.
Yes, I think so.
He's played over 700 games at the minor league.
So he's no rookie. Pat just chimed in. If you heard him, he played 700 games in the minors so far. So maybe we've just seen him come through the circuit.
26-year-old rookie.
You're right. Maybe he'll be like the other 26-year-old rookie, Wade Boggs.
Yeah. No, but all kidding aside, they got a good hitting team. They're a good hitting team. Period. They're one of the better hitting teams
But
in the league.
The other surprise in Wilyer Abreu. I mean, every time I turn on the game, he's hitting a home run or a double.
He's had a nice little unnoticeable, pleasant year.
Yeah.
Pretty good defensively too.
Yeah, and here's a guy that really was a gem that they found last year at the trade deadline. That they traded away, a catcher that they knew they weren't going to use him anymore. It was not a favorable trade in the fans' eyes, but they bring in this kid who's been undervalued by Houston, and he's putting up huge numbers. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
now let me ask you a question, guys.
Sure.
Seeing that they already had two catches and they got this Toronto catcher Jansen, is McGuire still with the club, or did they send him down?
They designated him.
They designated for an assignment. If nobody releases him, nobody claims him, then the Red Sox can send him down to Worcester or Portland or wherever they want to send him to. If somebody signs him, then they can work out an arrangement either for trade or just let him go through free agent.
It didn't make any sense to say the team doesn't carry three catchers.
And then you look at Connor Wong, who had 4 more hits again last night. He's hitting over 300. You're right. They're a hitting team, and then
they can hit. It's their pitching now. That's very much of a concern.
And I know it was only one game, and it was last night, but Lucas Sims with an inning and a third last night.
We'll take it.
And Garcia threw a perfect inning last night.
I wanted to share this with you before I let you guys go. And this was just a prime case of when to know to keep your mouth shut. And this was the Wednesday afternoon pregame show with Rice, Tom, Karen, and somebody else, I forget who it was. And up came the name Tristan Tassis again, who's been on a DL forever.
Yes.
And and it's coming up, and he wants him to. He's improving. Of course, he had a tough injuries. Any kind of a rib injuries, it's tough to recover from. It takes a long time. But Karen kept bringing up, so Rice got fed up, and he said, "Listen, it's time for this guy to come up now and show what he's got." Right? Enough excuses. Right.
I usually don't catch pre or post game shows too often. I actually caught that from Jim Rice, and he was getting angry, and Tom Karen was trying to redirect him.
So Tom Karen, instead of keeping his mouth shut, said something very stupid. He says, "What? He's not an immortal like you."
He did say that.
Oh, God.
And Jim Rice was like, "Hey, I had a broken hand, and I came back." And
Yeah.
He got a piece of paper, right? He got a piece of paper in his hand, and he's fanning. He's just getting very hot in here.
yeah. Exactly.
And,
yeah.
And it looks like Tristan's, nowhere closer to coming back than he was when he got down in Worcester. So he made a comment that every time he swings, it still feels like he's getting stabbed in the side.
Wow.
So that's
That
unfortunate.
is such a tough injury. That's the
Yeah.
worst possible place.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, rib injuries are tough, but he was getting no sympathy or empathy from Jim Rice, and I was actually watching it with my wife at the time. And
I've had it,
Yeah.
But for Karen to say something like that, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You got to know when to keep your mouth shut.
exactly.
I wouldn't want to upset Jim Rice. Either.
This idiot talk, shut up.
Yeah. So no, it should be interesting. Costas was originally supposed to be back July 1st, and here we are August 3rd, and like Pat just said, or you said, he's nowhere closer to being ready to come back.
I know, status quo, right?
Right. Exactly. So
Keep having a setback. Too bad about Mike Trout.
Out for the
Out
year.
for the season again.
It-
Heck of a ball player. Too bad.
It wasn't in my pregame notes, but is his Hall of Fame status on hold? I mean, he hasn't played more than 119 games in any of the
Yeah.
last 5 seasons.
Did you know there was a no-hitter last night?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Snell from the Giants.
Oh yeah, no hitter for Blake Snell. That's the
Blake
guy
Snell.
that they took out with 70 pitches. Joe Madden did in the World Series, but they let him go well over 100 last night for the throwing no hitter.
Well, I've taken up enough of your time, guys. So it's pleasant to chat with you.
It was great chatting with you, Moose. Thank you very much for the call, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Hey, same to you, and I'll leave you with these 2 words. Go Sox.
Go Sox.
go.
All right, thanks, Moose. All right, thanks as always to Moose. We're up against the first break. You are listening to Kevin's Sports Show. I'm Kevin, along with Pat Holland here on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, and OneSocketRadio.com. We will be back right after this.
OM 1240.
Stress-free car shopping is what you will encounter at Tasker Buick GMC of Woonsocket. In stock is the latest Buick and GMC models like the Buick Encore GX, Envision, GMC Sierra 1500, Acadia, and Terrain. Tasker Buick GMC of Woonsocket has a wide selection of pre-owned automobiles. These vehicles undergo many point checks before going on sale. Plus, they come with a warranty and an auto check certified history. Check out the entire inventory of new and pre-owned cars online at TaskerBuickGMC.com. Tasker Buick GMC, Thornton Drive, Woonsocket. You will be satisfied.
Woonsocket Door Sales can handle any kind of door installation, including residential and commercial, paying special attention to your door's infrastructure, such as framework repair, to ensure that your door is firmly in place. Woonsocket Door Sales is a 4th-generation family business, installing and repairing all types of doors. Please visit their website at woonsocketdoorsales.com to see a gallery of door styles, manufacturers, and testimonials from satisfied customers. Woonsocket Door Sales, 767-3448. Call Amy Bebo at 767-3448.
When you visit their website at MichaudAutobody.com, you'll see some very interesting information, including frequently asked questions about coverage if you're not at fault, regulations about replacement costs, or having to visit an insurer's claim center. Know the law and your rights. You'll also see a photo gallery of Michaud's extra clean facility. It has to be to accommodate the requirements of sensitive paint textures and applications. Michaud's Auto Body is a gold-class repair facility located at 430 Privilege Street, Woonsocket, 769-1983.
Blackstone Valley's ON Radio.
And welcome back to Kevin Sports Show here on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, and OneSocketRadio.com. We thank Moose for the phone call to lead off the show. Moose brought up the name, Pat, Danny Jansen. And for those that may not be aware, Danny Jansen has a chance to make history on August 26th when they play Toronto. He could become the very first MLB player in the history of the game for play for two teams in the same game. There was a game suspended back in May, and when the game was suspended, Danny Jansen was at the plate, as my understanding, against Toronto. When they resumed the game, August 26th against Toronto, well, Danny Jansen's no longer on the Blue Jays. He's on the Red Sox. The starting catcher for the Red Sox that game was Reese McGuire, who's no longer on the team. So somebody has to catch for the Red Sox, and somebody's going to have to pinch hit for Danny Jansen. Do you think Red Sox take advantage of that and try to make history that day?
My guess is they won't. A la Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah. So you don't think they will?
I don't.
First time ever. I think they. I think they go for it.
Maybe.
Okay,
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, that's it. It's a little detail that I didn't know, obviously, but it'll be interesting to see how they handle that.
It's happening, and the name evades me right now that a player has played for two teams in a doubleheader. They got traded in between games to the team that they were playing, and he got, I believe it was ended up with the Mets, and he got a hit for both teams in the doubleheader back in the 70s or 80s. Joel Youngblood comes to mind. So I don't know if it was him that did it, but pretty cool, I think. You mentioned Bill Belichick, and we were talking before we went on the air of Bill Belichick allowing Doug Flutie to do the drop kick. Right. For an extra point, something that hadn't been done since the 40s. And my father had explained to me that it was a regular feature.
Right.
Back in the 30s and 40s. I had no idea what it was. And Belichick, ever the historian, allowed Flutie to do that, just to make history. Danny Jansen, not exactly a household name and probably not a Hall of Famer, a fine baseball player, but to be the answer to a pretty cool trivia question. I kind of like the idea.
It's probably certain that if something like that were to happen, maybe that lineup card would end up out in Cooperstown, right?
Oh,
maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to send it up there. So it's our phone lines are open at 401-766-1240, 401-766-1240. Again, back to the Red Sox. Danny Jansen aside, and a fine player, Connor Wong right now outplaying him. For the starting catcher role, but as you know with catchers, I mean, we're talking 2 out of every 3 games they catch, maybe 3 out of 4. Connor Wong, again, four singles last night. And an interesting race shaping up last night, but 3 Red Sox players made their debut with the Red Sox last night. We mentioned Nick Sogard up from Worcester, the Rick Lancellotti, the Crash Davis, if you will. Rick Lancellotti, former Pawtucket Red Sox player who went after the minor league home run record back in the 90s.
I'll leave all these names up to you.
Yeah. I'm showing my age. Pat's all of a sudden acting like a 24-year-old. No, I'm way young on you. Now it's showing my age here. Rick Lancellotti, again, with the Pawtucket Red Sox, set the minor league home run record shortly after Bull Durham, like a year or 2 after Bull Durham came out and Crash Davis. So Nick Sogard, as Pat brought up, 700 games in the minor leagues. A 26-year-old rookie last night goes 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and had about 20 family members in attendance last night at Texas.
At least.
Yeah, exactly. And but also making their debut last night, acquired at the trade deadline, right-handed pitcher Louis Garcia from Los Angeles Angels, and Lucas Sims, acquired from the Cincinnati Reds. And Red Sox, basically gave up a ton of names. And let's be honest, folks, you haven't heard of the names that they've given up. You will hear of it if, Larry Anderson for Jeff Bagwell goes through, but nobody knew who Jeff Bagwell was at the time when the Red Sox picked up Larry Anderson in a trade like this, as Bagwell was behind Scott Cooper, who was behind Wade Boggs, and then Bagwell becomes a Hall of Famer. These names that were just sent over to the Angels and to the Reds are names you've never really heard of. What do your thoughts on the trades? They also picked up Oh my gosh, Danny Jansen, and the other trade was I have it in front of me.
The pitcher from Pittsburgh,
Yes, that's it. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
Quinn Priester,
That's it. Who they immediately sent down to Worcester.
which was really two high draft pick swaps, right?
Right.
Neither of them have really panned out yet. Although Priest, I think York is a little
Nick,
younger.
there it is. Now I found it. Yeah, Nick York, all of a sudden ranked 12th on the Red Sox depth chart according to Baseball America when they got rid of him. So they got rid of no top 10 prospects.
And essentially, a lot of these guys were going to be Rule 5 eligible, so they're going anyway.
Right.
Which most people don't. I don't follow it as in depth as that. So to know that type of information, I'm just glad that they've moved some of these guys. Right. You can't keep 100 potential roster players on your minor league roster forever. So you either got to identify who the top 5 are,
Right.
and move on if you can from the rest of them, especially when you're up against the Rule 5 draft, where you're probably going to lose most of these guys anyway. So essentially outside of, and I think Nick York was Rule 5
He may have been,
potentially too. So, but
Right.
they'll put Quinn Priester. I think he's down in Worcester now. They're going to work, try to develop him a little bit more, and maybe we'll see him by the end of the season.
Could be a September call-up maybe for the
But
stretch
some
run.
of these other guys, Sims looked good last night.
One in the third innings.
Really spin. He has this sweeper that I think they've at least had him throwing it well more than he was in Cincinnati.
Right.
He's keeping batters off balance. So I mean, last night he had, I think it was like 3 pop-outs.
Yeah.
Like straight up
Absolutely.
in the air.
Yes.
And then Garcia comes in and he's
pitches.
hitting, he's hitting 98. I mean,
Right.
that
He's 37 years old, so a little bit older. But and then you get Chris Martin, who's been very effective when not on the injured list. You get Chris Martin back. All of a sudden now the bullpen, Kenley Jansen has its ups and downs, but mostly has been a very positive closer this year for the Red Sox. And yeah, there are questions with the Red Sox starting rotation. But now you're really only looking for the Red Sox starters to give you 5 innings, not even the 6, if you've got 4 legitimate, relievers coming out of the bullpen.
Certainly a little concerned with Crawford. He's given up a lot of
Gave
home
up 4
runs.
home runs
He gave up
last
4
night.
home runs again last night. But the bats were alive last night, so it doesn't hurt you as much. I mean, you get an 11-6 win. You give up 4 home runs, 5 earned. But you got a lot of support behind you. It's a little bit easier to take, but you certainly don't want to see that every start.
No, exactly.
And I think his last start was that way. But I believe he had a stretch before the All-Star break where he was like,
right. Yeah, no, the Reds.
no earned runs for like 48 straight innings or something crazy.
Yeah, he was on a roll. Actually, the whole staff was.
Yeah.
The All-Star break seemed to kind of put the brakes. I was almost disappointed that it was the All-Star break. I'm sure the players weren't, but as a fan, I said, you're putting the brakes on a season right now that's going really good with 4 days off, and they kind of stumbled out of the gates after the All-Star break at 1-5. They seem to have righted the ship a bit. I mean, they're 6-4 in their last 10, and they're kind of hanging. Basically, as much as you want them to win every game, you can't approach every game like it's the NFL season.
Right.
I like to look at it in groups of 10.
You got to look at the series.
The series. If you could take
Win a
2 out of
series.
3, 2 out of 3, split a 4-game series, and all of a sudden you're 7-8 games over 500, which is where they stand right now. I don't even think they've dipped like more than 1 or 2 games below 500, and that would have been back in April anyway. So things are shaping up right now with as we head into the final 2 months of the season. You got the Orioles and Yankees are tied for first place, which gives one of them the wild card first place as well. One gets the AL East, and the other one gets the wild card. And then you got the other 2 wild card spots are up for grabs. You got the Royals and Twins right now are in position for the wild card. But here come the Red Sox. Oh, I shouldn't say here come. The Red Sox have been hovering around there. They're 2 games out. The Mariners are just 3.5 games out for the final 2 spots. The Tampa Bay Rays, I believe, are sitting about 5.5 out. And the Red Sox can pretty much eliminate The Texas Rangers, who sit about 9 for the defending champions, is going to be a disappointing year. But
Sure.
the Texas Rangers are pretty much out of the final wild card spot. If the Red Sox can take this series from them. Do you have any thoughts? 766-1240 on the Red Sox and the Red Sox trade deadline. Is it me, or am I just getting too excited for a wild card race? Is it?
Hey, it's there for a reason, right? I'll take it at this point. I'll take any way we can get in.
Absolutely.
Because I think at that point, anything can happen.
I mean,
I think they're a competitive team, and they can compete with the Orioles and Yankees. And I mean, they play, and maybe the East isn't as dominant as it used to be, but it's still I think it's the best in the American League.
Yeah, I agree with that. And in baseball, with the addition of all these wild card teams, it's the old theory. It's the old Bill Parcells. Just get in.
Just get in.
And anything can happen. And in baseball, it's really true. You get like in hockey, you get a hot goalie that you can ride all the way. You get a hot pitching staff. The way they've been hitting, you know what? The Red Sox are just as good as the Orioles, Yankees. I mean, they've had good success against the Yankees this year. So it could be real interesting with the Red Sox in the wild card race. Heating up. They got a tough schedule the rest of the way, but they show. I think these additions at the trade deadline are going to be really good.
Yeah.
Danny Jansen. James Paxton, provides the left-handed pitcher. I mean, he's up and down, but I think they're just looking at him to be the fifth pitcher.
Yeah, and I think it was slow. The trade deadline was a little slow, and then they made 2 trades within the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
of
That
the
was
deadline.
the Louis Garcia trade for the Angels,
and
and
all in
Lucas
all,
Sims.
I think they, I don't think they, did great, but I think they got some serviceable players that fill the needs that they have at this point in time. Could they have still gotten a better right-handed bat? Maybe. And a lot of people go back to, well, that should have been established back in February when they knew this and that. And it's like, well, they got O'Neill.
Right.
They signed him, and he's had a great season.
And he's up around 270.
Yeah.
He got Player of the Week last week.
Yeah, for his bat.
Yeah, for his bat. Yeah, not for his
Maybe
glove.
some questionable fielding plays that potentially they had that game against I think it was Seattle, and even I think New York. He had a play where it was like he probably could have got that and didn't. But he's batting 268. He's putting up power numbers. So I give him like a C+ on the trade deadline, better than what they've done over the past few years.
And going into May and June and even early July, I think everyone thought they weren't going to do anything. As a matter of fact, I had heard that Kenley Jansen was on the trading block,
right?
Because they were going to sell.
Let's sell off and get something for him now.
Right. So now they're the ones that are selling off their minor leaguers and acquiring. I mean, right now. One of the best bullpens in baseball now, the Red Sox, and the old cliche, pitching wins championships.
Let's just hope that if they do make it to the World Series, they don't have to play Colorado, because then he's not available out there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. So on that note, we're going to go to a commercial break. We'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on the Red Sox or any other topic. When we come back, we're going to switch topics. We're going to go talk about Patriots, what's going on in training camp. Matthew Judon, in, out, upset, happy? I don't know. Maybe you know more than we do. We'll be back on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, and WoodSoccerRadio.com right after these messages.
ON 1240.
Woonsocket Door Sales can handle all types of projects, from the simpler residential installations to the more complex commercial projects. They install, service, and repair. Garage doors are also an important facet of home and business security, since garages contain some of your valuable items like vehicles, tools, and small equipment. Visit their website at WoonsocketDoorSales.com and see a gallery of designs and styles, as well as testimonials from their satisfied customers from many surrounding towns. Woonsocket Door Sales, 1 Biltmore Avenue, Cumberland, 767-3448. Their reputation for sales and service is ironclad, just like their doors. Woonsocket Door Sales, 767-3448.
State Line Service and Tire Center services all vehicles, including late model cars and light trucks. Your late model vehicle is a highly sophisticated piece of equipment featuring a network of sensors and switches that monitor engine performance and efficiency. When a problem arises, it's important for your technician to know if your check engine light warning is a real problem or just a sensor computer issue. So be safe and be sure. Don, Kevin, and Sean believe in communicating and explaining. State Line Service and Tire Center, 1209 Social Street, Woonsocket, at the State Line.
When you're ill and need same-day care, remember North Smithfield Urgent Care and Lincoln Urgent Care for affordable and accessible care. You'll always be seen by a board-certified physician who will assess the problem and make you feel safe and reassured. Check their websites for convenient patient and medical forms, which you may fill out before the visit. North Smithfield Urgent Care, 594 Great Road, North Smithfield, 768-3400. And Lincoln Urgent Care, 2 Wake Robin Road, Lincoln, 333-9595.
And welcome back to Kevin Sports Show here on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, OneSoccerRadio.com. We welcome your calls at 401-766-1240. Your thoughts on the Red Sox. Did they do enough at the trade deadline? Should they have done more? Go after a right-handed bat. Your thoughts on Tristan Casas. What's taking so long? I've never had a rib injury, but my guess is it's extraordinarily painful from what I've heard. Tough to swing a bat. Moose brought up when he called in earlier about Jim Rice pretty much calling out Casas' toughness on the NESN broadcast, and Tom Caron kind of trying to reel him in off of that.
Yeah, and I think that's his. That's Casas. He's known for that. I mean, he's kind of like an out there type of guy. Flaky is At some point, it's like, listen, you're a professional athlete. Like, if it's me, maybe I'm not getting out of bed that day. But if I'm getting paid, like these guys are getting paid, it's like, let's get out there.
And I think Jim Rice might be coming from the point of view. I don't know Jim Rice, but if you're injured, no need for you to be a color commentator on NESN or ESPN Plus. Stay in the background. If you're playing, come on out. Maybe we can mic you up during a game. I'm sure Rice isn't a big fan of that either. But
right.
Talk about a player that would probably not have agreed to be mic'd up during his playing days. But all right, as we move on from the Red Sox, if you have any thoughts about the Red Sox, feel free to give us a call, 766-1240. We will be more than happy to revisit anything with the Red Sox going forward. But let's turn our attention right now to the New England Patriots. They are in their second week of training camp. The Patriots have made a bunch of signings in the off season. Most recently, just the other day, Devin Godchaux to a 2-year re-up on him. On a bit of a sad news, Christian Barmore out with blood clots. Apparently that happened. Not apparently, it did. It happened to David Andrews, the center for the Patriots a few years ago. Obviously, he came back fine. So they'll do everything they can to make sure Christian Barmore is healthy. When I first heard of that, and I did not remember about David Andrews, but again, I'm showing my age here again. There was a picture with the Houston Astros, J.R. Richard, who was on the same staff as Nolan Ryan, 1980, all-star pitcher, developed blood clots, and basically untreated collapsed during the season. 1980 was never the same pitcher again. So if you ever look him up, James Rodney Richard, 6'8" pitcher for the Houston Astros, just absolutely dominating back then. But around the same age, I think Barmore's 25.
Yeah.
And I think J.R. Richard's 26, 27, in that range. But
just glad that it's something that they found.
Right.
And, he didn't not say something. The medical staff treated him immediately.
Right.
I guess if you're going to have that happen, why not have it happen here when you're in the best medical facilities in the world?
Yeah, right in your back pocket. It's incredible.
At this point, I think he's probably done for the year.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think Andrews was out for the year. I can't imagine he's going to be back. Again, I'm not a doctor, and
right.
I don't try to play one on TV either,
exactly.
or the radio. But so hopefully, health is the first concern for him. So hopefully he makes a full recovery. But and a lot of people are asking, well, why are the Patriots signing all these guys to these 2-3 year extensions? To go 4 and 13, right?
And I think in the big one is Ramondre Stevenson, a running back. A lot of people say running backs are a dime a dozen. I can't put my finger on the reason why, but I do like the signing. since Corey Dillon, James White, but he was the third down back out of the backfield. Kevin Falk, it's like I would love to see the Patriots have a dominating running back because I don't see them having a dominating quarterback this season, and maybe Ramondre Stevenson offers that dominating running back for them this year.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that that's an Alex Van Pelt type of it's going to be a run-oriented offense.
Right.
So why not start with him? And then a lot of the critics out there are like, well, you don't want to sign a running back to that long-term. Not that it's a long-term deal, but most guys are done by the time they're 26, 27 now.
Exactly.
Not 32, 33.
Right.
But they've signed a lot of guys. I mean, Barmore, 4 years, 83 million. Kyle Duggar, 4 years, 58 million. Mike Owenu, 3 years, 57 million. Stevenson, 4 years, 36. Hunter Henry, 3 year, $27 million deal.
I was surprised about that one. I like him. I think he's a real good player. Maybe just as a safety option to throw the ball, the occasional block in the running game as well.
I think they're hoping that he has a bigger season than he has. I think he's a guy that I think what you're going to get when you put him out there. I think they're hoping that he gets back to his days out in, when he was in San Diego or LA or wherever they were then.
The San Diego Chargers of Los
Angeles. Jabril Peppers, they just selected him
week.
on 3 years, $24 million. Kendrick Bourne, 3 years, 19 and a half. I mean, he's coming off of an ACL tear, so that was a little like, Tavai, 3 years, $16 million. Obviously, David Andrews, I think he's the anchor of the offensive line.
Right.
I would assume he's the voice in the locker room now.
Yep.
2 years, $12 million. Anthony Jennings, 3 years, $12 million.
So it is a lot of people.
He's a run stopper. Uche, 1 year, $3 million. I think that was probably because of Judon not knowing what they're going to get out of him.
And speaking of Matthew Judon, you actually brought up the age a little bit. You said, hey, these guys don't play the 32. And speaking of 32-year-olds, you got Matthew Judon coming off an injury, says he's going to honor his contract, gets to a big argument with Mayo, leaves the camp, comes back the next day. He says, I put my name on the dotted line. Is he going to speak out again? Is he? What's going on with Matthew Judon?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little, he shows up. But as soon as and he was there the first day that the pads were on. He had that weird interaction on, I think it was Monday, where he shows up and he's sitting on the trash can flipped upside down, and Mayo goes over to have a conversation. There's a lot of finger pointing going on.
Don't forget Drew Rosenhaus, the agent, to Devin Godchaux. I don't know if he's Judon's agent or not, but he's Godchaux's agent.
Yeah,
he shows up at the Patriots practice. And all of a sudden, Godchaux is signed to a contract.
Yeah, and I'm sure from Judon's perspective, it's like, hey, I just rattled off 11 guys, right? Hey, where's my money? Where am I?
Right.
Listen, in the NFL, I'm a proponent of, you signed the deal, play it out, and we'll get to you.
Right.
I think they're close. He did a show or a in-person type of show with one of these influencers, right, on Instagram, a local Boston guy, and who seems to be in tune with him, and he said that things are looking good. So I wouldn't be surprised if something happens. I mean, I think he's been pretty vocal about it. He's come out and said, like, hey, like, we have the most cap space in the NFL. Like, what are we doing? But I can understand the reservation of.
Well, he's coming off an injury.
Yeah.
He's 32, which is old in football terms. He's it makes him a 10-year veteran. I'd like to keep him, but he probably wants a 4 or 5 year deal. I'm sure the Patriots don't want to get him out to age 36 or 37.
If I'm correct, he tore his pec, right?
I think so.
Which is an injury that
almost
Mayo,
like Costas' ribbage.
But Mayo had that injury as a player,
so he knows.
So Mayo probably knows exactly what's
right.
The rehab is, and you're not the same player when you come back. I mean, Teddy Johnson was another guy who suffered from that. I think he tore both pecs. I mean, there was probably a question about how that happened to Teddy Johnson, whether it was some other influences.
Yes.
But I think he's a team guy. I mean, and they don't have a lot of those guys.
Right.
I mean, he's a guy that opening day of training camp, he's running out in the field, and the fans are reacting to him.
Right.
Who else is there?
Yeah, the Patriots don't have Tom Brady to be cheering for right now. Your lead guys are David Andrews, and that harkens back to the days of John Hanna. Like, oh, okay, we're rooting for the offensive line again. It's and Matthew Judon does give you someone. He's going to sack the quarterback. He's someone that plays with emotion, someone that's out there.
Right.
However, with Judon, we are seeing something never saw in the 24 years of Bill Belichick, a contract dispute playing out in public.
Because it wasn't allowed.
It wasn't allowed, exactly.
And, it'll be interesting to see what happens this week. I would suspect that they'll get something in place, whether it be, hey, we're going to pay you a little bit more this year and see what happens, and then we'll sign you. But, I mean, he has to understand from their perspective. Like, you're coming off of an injury, you're an older guy, we can't give you a 3-4 year deal.
Right. Maybe we can front end some money.
Yeah.
But we can't backload a contract for you.
I do think that listen, they have the most money under the cap, right, to use. I still think the NFL cap is fictitious anyway.
The only cap I believe in is the NHL's cap.
Yeah.
I don't understand the NBA cap. You're signing Jason Tatum to $55 million per year, for 4 years. I don't understand the NFL cap. The NHL cap seems to be a hard cap, and you see the way the guys come under the cap at about $7 million a year, $8 million a year, and they actually address it right to the number. There is a floor and a ceiling for the NHL cap. It's the only salary cap I think I understand.
For the most part.
Yeah.
And they've done away with a lot of these, like, you get, look at Ohtani's contract. Like, it's like, it's $750 billion, but we're only going to pay him $7.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, so it's make believe.
Right. Exactly.
Whereas the NHL, I think they used to, like, there was ways around it. I think I forget who it was back in the day that signed the, might have been. I forget who it was, but it was all basically backloaded. Right. And,
right. Exactly.
So you could sign them to these. That's how they got to these 12 and 13 million. And it
Bobby
was,
Bonilla day.
Yeah. But now they've done away with that.
So we are up against the clock for our final break. When we come back, we'd like to talk about Drake May. Will he be your starting quarterback? Will it be Jacoby Brissett? Bailey Zappi? Is he going to be released again? I think yes, sir. There are new kickoff rules in the NFL. We'll touch on that. The Revolution Stadium in Everett could be a dead deal. Maybe a little bit about the Olympics, and I'm happy that they're not in Boston. Are you? Any thoughts that you may have? 766-1240, 401-766-1240. Please join us for our last segment on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, and OneSocketRadio.com. We'll be back after these messages.
ON 1240.
Stress-free car shopping is what you will encounter at Tasca Buick GMC of Woonsocket. In stock is the latest Buick and GMC models like the Buick Encore GX, Envision, GMC Sierra 1500, Acadia, and Terrain. Tasca Buick GMC of Woonsocket has a wide selection of pre-owned automobiles. These vehicles undergo many point checks before going on sale. Plus, they come with a warranty and an auto check certified history. Check out the entire inventory of new and pre-owned cars online at TascaBuickGMC.com. Tasca Buick GMC, Thornton Drive, Woonsocket. You will be satisfied. Featuring traditional dishes from Mexico to your table is Bandito's Mexican Restaurant, 2120 Diamond Hill Road in Woonsocket. Bandito's Mexican Restaurant is your go-to place for tacos, burritos, tequila, margaritas, and more. So today, when you're wondering where to get the best Mexican food in Woonsocket, remember Bandito's Mexican Restaurant. Banditos, with locations on Broad Street in Cumberland, Park Street in Attleboro, and soon in Pawtucket, is open daily at 12 in Woonsocket. Welcome to summer, and John Moran of A.J. Moran Incorporated says now is the time to get those projects done that you've been putting off. Masonry, patios, walkways, hardscape, and landscape. A.J. Moran will work with you to create the design that you want. Your web destination to contact A.J. Moran Incorporated is ajmoraninc.com or search A.J. Moran Incorporated on Facebook. A.J. Moran Incorporated has been servicing Massachusetts and Rhode Island for more than 30 years. Contact John Moran at 781-267-6827, 781-267-6827. AJ Moran Incorporated.
If you're celebrating a major event, regardless of the reason, Michael's Meats of Cumberland can elevate your next meal from ordinary to extraordinary with meats so good your guests will ask you where you got them. Tell them Michael's Meats. Michael's Meats is in the Walgreens parking lot on Mendon Road in Cumberland, just north of the Ciabro Plaza. They're open Monday through Saturday at 9 a.m., making your next meal truly special. Here's this week's specials at Michael's Meats.
And at Michael's Meats, we have a 2.5-pound box of soggy franks for $5.49 a pound. That's $13.70 for a box at Michael's Meats. And welcome back to Kevin Sports Show. I'm Kevin Callahan, along with Pat Holland and Pat. There's my buttons there. Okay, Pat. Drake May, will he not be the opening day quarterback in September when the Patriots open up, or will it be Jacoby Brissett? Brissett.
Yeah, it's going to be Jacoby Brissett. I think that's been the game plan all along. Is to bring May along slowly. You listen to a lot of these national shows, and they talk about when was the last time a third overall pick didn't play right away, and name these quarterbacks and that that played in right up front, and they didn't have winning records. Aikman.
Troy Aikman was 1-15 his first year.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you can go on and on. But it's like, I think it's what's best. He hasn't looked great during training camp, from what I understand, but he hasn't looked terrible.
My understanding is he's looked better the last 2 days than he did the first 2 days of camp. Someone brought up a point that I heard. Even when he hasn't looked good, he's still only thrown 2 interceptions in the 4 days of camp. He's mostly working with and against the second teamers, but it was more of his decision making. But I have no problem erring on the side of caution with him. You bring in Jacoby, who's been with the Patriots before. He's a solid backup. Serviceable. He'll be fine. Bring Drake May along slowly. Joseph Malott, the other rookie quarterback. Sign him as your third or practice squad guy. I would say bye-bye Bailey Zappi. I think Zappi fever is finally done.
Zappi, for what I understand, got no snaps the last 2 days.
Yeah.
You kind of voiced it a little bit at the end of yesterday. But, yeah, so May, I guess, looked pretty good. He was 18 for 24 the last 2 days of camp during 11v11, so 75%, which is a good, good stretch. I think we'll see him a little bit in the preseason.
For sure in the preseason.
I think Mayo has said he's probably going to get some first-team reps.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because a lot of people think that if he's playing with better players, he'll probably look better.
Well, and you got to assume, and if you have any thoughts on Drake May, should he be the opening day quarterback? I'd love to hear from you at 766-1240, 401-766-1240. And I'm going to make a leap here, but if he's practicing with the second teamers, I'm assuming that means he's practicing with the second team offensive lineman as well. I'm guessing.
I think the first team offensive
Is
line
it?
and the second team offensive line could be interchangeable
at
this point. But
from a talent point of view. It's so if you get bumped up and work with the first teamers all the way through, then you will get better, because you got better people protecting you. You got better receivers, better hands, better running backs, better cuts. Everything should be just a little bit better from that point of view. And I do think Drake May, I think he's going to get in. I think he's going to play probably, if I had to guess, be that third quarter guy, give Jacoby the first half, maybe first quarter next week, try to figure out how they do their 3 preseason games now. First quarter for Jacoby, maybe second and third quarter for Drake, and then, or do each quarterback get a quarterback, get a quarter? Does each quarterback get a quarter?
No, I don't think we'll see Zappi
at all.
You might see, is it Milton, the third guy from Auburn? I think they're going to, I think they've drafted him to really give a different look. Maybe they bring him in goal line and they run some RPO. He's a big kid. He has a huge arm. Is he a pro ready quarterback? Absolutely not.
No.
Let's not get into the, is it the Ben Bishop? Is it
Michael Bishop. Michael Bishop, yeah.
Back he comes in and he hits a
Whoever.
65, 70-yard Hail Mary in a game, and everyone thinks he should be the starting quarterback.
Over
now. It's
Bledsoe,
like,
if I
Yeah,
remember
right.
at the time.
So let's not get carried away. But I'm not upset with the fact that they're going to bring May along.
No,
slowly.
I think it goes all the way back. What are your projections on the team? 8 and 9 would be an incredible year, based on last year. And 8 and 9 is not in the playoffs. So if you know they're not a playoff team, and you want to develop somebody, you want to bring them along slowly. Some people will argue, well, if you're not going to make the playoffs, just throw them in, and who cares? Let them go 1-15 like Troy Aikman. But I'm on the side of you brought in Jacoby Brissett. Let him lead the team. Go ahead, Pat.
In a lot of these signings are defensive.
Right.
For a reason. Right? They know that if we're going to be competitive, we have to be more competitive from a defensive standpoint than
Right.
we do from an offensive standpoint. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to put up numbers. I mean, Brissett was a pretty decent quarterback in Indy.
Yep.
And even in Washington.
Right.
Like when they brought him out to play, I mean, they were trying to not win games, and he was keeping them in games to the point where they're like, well, we're not going to play you next game, right?
Right.
Because
They wanted
we're
to tank for
trying
it,
to
but
get
they wanted
into,
the top draft choice.
So, he's still going to make mistakes. But, yeah, I mean, I think that the game plan is we go with Brissett, we ride him as far as we can this season. We continue to progress slowly with Drake May, and if an opportunity presents itself, then we put him in. But
I could foresee, throughout the course of the season, you're up 30, which probably won't happen, but down 30 in a game. You're 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Drake May gets a look. Almost bringing in like the mop up guy in relief for baseball. You bring in Drake May, let him get his first few snaps. So we do have a few minutes left. If you like to call in 766-1240, 401-766-1240. But a couple other things before we end our show, and we can touch more on this next week. There's new kickoff rules in the NFL. If you didn't see them, go check out the Patriots preseason game on August 8th. Basically, without returning a kickoff, the ball can be spotted at the 20, the 30, or the 40, depending on what happens. And then it is designed for kickoff returns to happen. So check that out. We'll talk more about that next week. We talked about the Revolution Stadium in Everett. It looked like it was moving forward when we talked to the Rhode Island Football Club president last week. Looks like Tidewater Landing is going to be opening up way sooner and be an experienced stadium long before there'll be a new stadium. I was looking up failed stadiums in Boston, and I found a nice article that went back to 1965 when they wanted to build a megaplex dome that the Sox, the Patriots, the Bruins, and the Celtics were going to all play in. Basically, politicians and the Bruins shut that down because the Bruins couldn't get their fair shake of the concession stand, according to them, the concession gate. So it just came down that the Revolution Stadium in Everett is a no, at least temporarily. Did you follow that story at all this week, Pat?
Yeah, so it was it got in the legislative discussion at the beginning of June, and now it's basically the brakes have been halted on it. And I think, I wasn't a huge fan of it, regardless of whether, because I live down here and I'd have to drive up there. But to build a 25,000 seat soccer only stadium in Everett, and I get it that area is being cleaned up and kind of revitalized, but to only have 75 parking spaces that were going to be kind of put there, it's like, well, where are these people coming? And then the closest train station's like a 15-minute walk. Now, not that that's a lot, but you're not going to get 25,000 people to go to a stadium where you have to take public transportation.
I had heard a long time ago, and again, I know we're running out of time, but when the Red Sox, so we'll go back about 20, 25 years ago, when the Red Sox were thinking about a new Fenway Park, there's a piece of land behind Gillette Stadium that is big enough to support a baseball field. There's also, it would take out some of the parking that the Patriots do enjoy right now, but why not build a soccer-only stadium there, 25,000? You've got parking. You set up the trains that now run on special events for, Metallica's in town for the Patriots. You set up the trains to run into Foxborough, and should you have Ronaldo playing against the Revolution. You go from your 25,000 seat beautiful stadium and you slide right over 100 yards away to Gillette Stadium.
And that might be the next move. I think, if you don't remember, I mean, there was also discussion about putting a casino there that
The
Kraft,
Wynn
Kraft
Group.
was in discussion with Wynn on, and that's probably why that conversation hadn't been had about that. But outside of that, I don't see what their move is.
And I know they want to get, they say a lot of people from, Fall River and New Bedford and Boston and the city. And you know what? Again, it's cliche. If you build it, they will come. But if you build a nice 25,000 seat, if they're averaging 23,000 and they want to build a 25,000 seat stadium and they got the space, so I don't know why you have to attract more fans from a different part of the state when you're already drawing the fans anyway in. And 23,000, that's 10,000 more than they used to get.
And I think, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of hurdles. I'm sure Foxborough would have, they'd have some hurdles to kind of get by. Although from what I understand, they put a lot of money back into that town.
Right.
So
and you got Craftville already there. You got they got the Hall of Fame.
I think at some point
put a revolution wing on. Yeah, absolutely. So
it has to.
So, some topics we didn't get to. The Olympics right now. We know the women's national team are at the half against Japan in the quarterfinal round, 0-0 at the half.
No.
Things are heating up in, hoops and Olympics for the next couple of weeks anyway. My final comment before we end the show, I am so happy the Olympics are not in Boston like they were proposed to be. I don't know if you've given that any
thought.
and
it's funny. You mentioned that yesterday. I read back up on it, and it would have been a nightmare.
I think so.
So.
Yeah, swimming in the Charles River for the triathlon, and we already saw what happened with the river out in France. I don't know. So, hey, thank you for listening and watching on Kevin's Sports Show. We will be back next week with talk about some of these topics plus a whole lot more. I'm Kevin Callahan. This is Pat Holland. You've been listening to Kevin's Sports Show on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, and WoonSocketRadio.com. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now